Hello again. I hope you're having a good day. You're probably noticing I'm in a different location right now. I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone. So I am at the studio, and in a few minutes I'm going to be joining Clark in the studio, and we're going to be doing some editing. But I thought I'd just take a moment and tell you a little bit about him today. He is a sound engineer. So what that means is he does editing and mixing for sound. That could be music. He does a lot of my music and other people's music. It could also be, like what we're doing right now with the video. I'm capturing this video on one device, and then I have another device that I capture video on, and then I also have a third handheld camcorder that I'm capturing video on. So we basically got two phones and then a camcorder. Those might vary in the sound that they capture because they're different pieces of equipment. So I take those audio files and give them to Clark, and he helps me to clean them up and balance them out so that everything is legible and clear, so that you can hear clearly and understand what you're hearing in this video. So yeah, he's helping me with the music, and he's also helping me with the sound part of the video series. It should be noted also, this interview is the interview we took back in 2010 when we were working on A Light in the Storm. You'll hear a little bit more from Clark in a later episode, but this kind of gives you an idea of who Clark is, and kind of starts to wrap up everything from A Light in the Storm before we start moving to the new music that I'm working on and talking about that. So let's get to Clark. Here comes Clark.
I'm glad I dressed up.
Are you ready to make some music?
We'll just try not to, as they say, do no harm.
All right.
Oh, hi, Mom!
Good morning. So this is Clark. He's the mixing engineer, and he's going to tell you just a little bit this morning about what we do. And so, here you go, Clark.
We mix. That's what we do. I've been working with Jeremie Heston here for a while. It just says four something or other months. Jeremie's produced most of the tracks in his home studio that we're using, and we're bringing them in here and transferring them up to the Pro Tools system, and going through and just trying to figure out places where we can improve on Jeremie's mixes, and sometimes that's not that easy because they're pretty good.
The beats leading right up to that.
Right up to the fill.
Yeah, let's go to the sub bass.
So we're basically taking his tracks and working them out, trying to make sure that they sound as awesome as possible. Occasionally adding a little something here, a little something there, a whale, a French horn, just stuff that you always add. And then we check the mixes on his van. And sometimes on his stereo, I don't know. And as many different systems as we can.
So I should explain what Clark means by checking the mixes on my van. Because we're dealing with sound, and we're dealing with stereo systems of all different kinds, and when I say that I mean your stereo system that you listen to music on. I have to check this music out when we've edited and mixed it on several different systems. My van is one of them. I've got a really nice stereo system in there. It's got, and before you laugh, just understand that this is what I do. I do music, and I do it professionally, so I need high quality system to be able to check out all the different frequencies. The highs, the mids, the lows, the sub, ultra lows. So I've got a system in my van that has 14 speakers, and it captures all those different ranges, so I can hear really clearly where we're at in the mix. I also check the music out on, headphones like this, and also the classic headphones, what we call cans. Also, I'll check it on my home stereo. I'll check it out on my computer, and even, and I can't believe I'm saying this because, in my opinion, this is the worst system to listen to really nice music on, but I'll even check it on the phone. And then, of course, we check it on the system over in Clark's studio. So between all those different systems, I can see that, okay, it sounds good in a car stereo, but it doesn't sound good on a computer. Or it sounds good on a car stereo and a computer, but it doesn't sound good on headphones, or it doesn't sound good on a home stereo. So my goal is to mix everything to the point where it sounds good no matter what system you're listening to it on. And we do this with every tune multiple times, mix after mix after mix after mix, until it is dialed in to where it doesn't matter what you put it on, it sounds great. So that's kind of what's going on there. Let's get back to Clark.
Since Jeremy's kind of a perfectionist, we often rework things once or twice or 3 or 4 times until nothing else is left undone and nothing is imperfect.
Okay, I know what to do. Coming out of here, it sounds okay. We got to pick a spot to turn it up.
Probably just through this. Let's see where.
That's good. Yeah, so from here, that up.
So what you hear is the result of actually quite a few hours of work. People wonder why it takes a while. Well, sometimes that whale sound, it just needs to come down 1 or 2 dB, and you gotta pay attention. You gotta take the time to do that. So that's what we're doing. Hope you like the end result.
So what does Clark mean by whale sound coming down a couple of dB? Well, let me just tell you a little bit about that. There's a song that I wrote that is on the album A Light in the Storm, and is the song called A Light in the Storm. And this is a song that is all keyboard. There's no piano, no guitar, no drums, no other instruments, just all keyboard. And I was just kind of creating this experience that is, it just kind of takes you out into another place. And I wanted to have sounds in that were just kind of unique and just kind of stimulates your mind and your emotions as you're listening to it. I find it inspiring. So one of the sounds that I wanted to put in there was a whale sound, because I think that when whales sing to each other, it's a very pretty sound. And so I got all of these different whale sounds, and we picked out the ones that we liked, or should I say I picked out the ones that I liked, and inserted them into the mix. And then we had to adjust how long they were, and how much reverb we put on them, how much delay, were they too bassy, was there too much treble, was there not enough treble, and then the volume, of course. And so if the volume was too hot, we would bring it down a couple of dB. dB meaning like decibels. And so that's what we would do. We would just adjust the sound, and I'm going to show you that whale sound right now in the mix of that song. Take a listen.
It's come to this. We're equalizing individual echoes in Jeremie's masterpiece. Because I know Jeremie wouldn't want a single echo incorrectly equalized.
So you'll notice throughout this video that Clark and I are always jousting. We're just enjoying bantering with each other. He has a very quick wit. I also have a quick wit, and for the most part, I feel we enjoy each other's company. Certainly, I enjoy his company. And so it's just fun being around him and just joking around and having a good time. So now I'm going to take you to a section of the episode where you get to see one of my dearest friends, Bob Pike, interview Clark. And you're also going to see an interview with me, also done by my friend Bob Pike. And this is during the time when we were almost completely finished with the A Light in the Storm project. We had edited and recorded everything, and we're mixing everything, and we're right toward the very end of the project and just kind of wrapping things up. So that's about the time period these interviews took place. Let's get to it.
Which is my better side?
That one.
This one.
There you go. All right. Hi, Ken. How you doing?
Ken?
Clark. Clark.
I'm doing fine, unless I'm not the right person.
We've got the right person.
Okay,
How goes it?
Excellent.
that's going great.
It's been a good day.
It's been a good long day.
How long have you been doing this type of work?
Today?
In general.
Let me see. What time
In
is it?
general.
In general, boy, it's been like, seems like years. It has been years. Trying to think. Well, I got a tape recorder for my 13th birthday, which is over a decade ago, I think, at least. Maybe a couple decades, I don't know. So I've been goofing around with recording for eons, I guess you'd say. Always kind of liked it.
I got to work with Scott Heibel on the Christmas CD, and that was really enjoyable too. We wanted to work together on this one, but he developed Parkinson's disease, and the short story is that he was unable because of health. And so I started working with Clark, and I have not regretted it. It was Scott's recommendation that I work with Clark, and I think it took about 3 or 4 songs for us to kind of get used to each other's style of how we mix. He is the mixing engineer, yet I am with him every second of the editing and mixing process with my own engineering ears on. And I guess what he classified me as is the executive producer. And, that's fine. That is what I do. I have my hands on pretty much everything. But it was really a pleasure working with Clark. And he brought in a different perspective.
I mean, there's sort of some analog warmth in there.
Gotcha. But it's enough to live with, right? You want to take that EQ from...
It's not bothering me at all. I mean, I like a little sort of furry edges on it sometimes.
Okay. Should I get you a teddy bear?
Well, if it would get us closer to done, sure.
Actually, on my 13th birthday, I got a tape recorder and a guitar, and never made it as a guitar player, and so here I am, recording Jeremie Heston. So I guess in some sense I've arrived.
Excellent.
Okay.
And then, but the one thing I would like is that very last chord. If we could get a clean one of that, and do kind of hold your breath there.
This one?
Whatever's the very last chord.
Okay.
Everyone I've got is like. Like, thank
Gotcha.
God I'm done.
Okay, gotcha. I think I know what you need to do there. Use the force.
Yes. I am your father.
Let it guide your actions. So I was trying to get Clark to put more, to actually delay the delay. And I can't seem to figure out what the delay is.
Well, I'm just taking my time is all. I'm taking my time and trying to figure out what the heck he's talking about.
Clearly not using the force.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Fixed it you have.
Alright, I'm gonna start charging extra. I'm doing that all day. You me, man, this is gonna run you.
Have you ever engineered a project like this before?
Yeah, I've done some stuff like this. There's, Jeremie, his material is he creates it all kind of on his own. It's not like a traditional kind of what you think of as a traditional recording project where you come in with the band and you set up the bass player and the drummer and the guitar player and the keyboard player and the vocalist and then record everybody and then mix it. He puts his stuff together at home on his digital system that he's got at home and then brings the tracks over, brings them in here. So for the most part, he's actually done all the recording himself. So that part of it's a little different. But I've worked with people who do that. I've worked with other people who do that as well. Done a lot of work for library stuff that appears in library music, where a lot of times the music is really totally produced by the composer, with an occasional real instrument thrown in here and there. And when I say real, I mean like a real guitar or whatever. A lot of Jeremie has used a lot of keyboards and some sampled drums and stuff. So there's that half of what he does, or that part of what he does.
So when you hear Clark talking about how I use a lot of keyboards, sample drums, and what sample drums are basically on the keyboard, there's programs you can use where they have drum kits, and they have, on mine, I think there's probably about 30 different drum kits that that keyboard offers, all the way from a standard drum kit to a jazz drum kit to symphony, timpanis, things like that. So why use those instruments? Because frankly, to hire an orchestra or sometimes hiring professional musicians is incredibly expensive, and so you have to pay for their time, not only the rehearsal time but also the recording time, plus the time in the studio it takes to record them and edit them. And so a lot of times it's just not feasible. Also, I have a lot of instruments that I like to use besides the ones that I play. So like I play guitar, I'll play percussions, bongos, I'll play the drums, bass guitar, electric guitar, piano, and of course keyboard. But then when you start getting into specialized instruments like a violin, a cello, a flute, a Japanese koto, things of that nature, it's a little bit harder to find musicians, first of all, that can play those instruments in my circle of people that I know. And then once you find them, again, you run into the expense of it all. So you could actually take a song that might take, just for example, let's say you have a song that takes $1,500 or $2,000 to produce. And then you hired an orchestra and maybe a solo violinist, and now all of a sudden you have to pay $6,000 to $10,000 to produce the same song. So for that reason, when it starts getting beyond what I have the ability to pay for or find in a live musician, then I'll go to the keyboard to fill in those spots and edit those so that they sound as realistic as possible. Preferably, I would love to use live musicians for everything, but honestly, it's just not feasible unless you have a label carrying you and you're on a Hollywood kind of budget, which I am not. I pay for everything myself. So that kind of explains the use of a lot of electronic instruments at times. So let's get back to the episode.
But he's brought in a lot of real musicians as well, and some unreal musicians, actually, now that I think about it. But we had a wonderful piano player, Jean-Pierre forget his last name, but he was awesome. Some really lovely vocalists. So there's been a lot of kind of nice kind of icing on top of the electronic cake. Can you tell I haven't had dinner yet?
So, of the live musicians that I brought in, you know, like Lisa, like my father-in-law Harvey, like Michael, who played the French horn and the bass guitar, my friend Jim, who played drums, my brother Bill, who played keyboards, and he's singing on the new album I'm working on, and my brother Ben, you know, and on and on. Those musicians, 95% of all the musicians I brought in have 100% volunteered their time, which for me makes it even more special, because these are friends and family that I brought in, and I'm not having to exchange money. It's more about doing something together that has a purpose for God's kingdom, as opposed to a business transaction. And so having the live musicians come in is not only a blessing in that it helps the music to overall sound better, but it is just a privilege to be served by these wonderful people, and just enjoy working with them without them asking anything in return. And nothing against any of the musicians who I have paid to work on this music, but it's just a different way to do music with people, and for me, I find it a very special bonding experience. And so for that, I'm really grateful, and I thank you all. So let's get back to it.
Okay. Perfect. Turn that up a little more. That's a take, but I write the check too.
Yeah. As far as how this project or this type of approach to the project differs, you kind of explained how it differs. Do you have any noticeable likes or differences that you enjoyed in this type of process of putting the music together?
You know, to me, kind of the biggest difference in a project like this is that it's much more controlled than working with a live band. I mean, so, you know, some bands are pretty, you know, coming pretty together, but most bands, there's sort of a certain amount of kind of random chaos that happens around the music, and you just have to be prepared for that. Jeremie has a very tight concept of what he wants things to sound like, and when he comes in here, the material is already pretty well realized, so there's not a lot of kind of what do you want to say, surprises. I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I mean, he you know, he comes in, he knows what he wants, and he's pretty much, you know, he's kind of 80% of the way there on some of this stuff. He's all the tracks are there, and it's, you know, it's just a matter of kind of sculpting what he's got to make sure that everything, you know, is presented as clearly as possible.
So one of the reasons why I do most of my own recordings is, frankly, it saves a ton of money. And, you know, Clark's talking about how that's a bit unusual for him to experience that. I just kind of think of it from a business standpoint, that if I can do the recordings, it's going to save half the budget. So if you have a song, for example, that costs $2,000 to edit and mix, or even say $4,000 to edit and mix. If I had to do all the recordings at the studio as well, you can take that number and easily double it and then some, because you would have to spend all that time recording, and the recording process is expensive. Then you have to edit it, so instead of doing it in one session, you have to do it in 2 or 3 sessions. And so it just saves so much more money to do it myself. And I had been doing that since I was 12 years old. I remember the first time I recorded something, I was 12 years old, and I just had this little boom box with a tape in it, and you can push record. So I put the tape in, I push record, and I'd play my own tunes. And then maybe I'd play a rhythm section, and then I'd play it back, and I'd start learning how to play lead to the rhythm section I just recorded. So at 12 years old, I had been learning how to do my own recording and mixing, and had just refined that all the way until now when I'm 46. And so why take all that skill and understanding and development and just not use it? It doesn't make sense to me. So that's kind of why I do all my recordings, or almost all my recordings.
If you want to say anything to the camera, you can. It's recording. Oh, it's the nanny cam. And actually, the more astute viewers among you might realize I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just pretending to work while Jerry's gone for a minute. Jeremy. I don't even know who I'm working for today. I tell you, it's a stressful life.
I can't say I like the way that sounded. I can say I like the way that felt.
Yeah, well, that's
And it felt right.
okay. Well, that's what the sub bass is for.
Yeah.
All right. You want to continue from there?
Yeah.
Get it down a little bit or something. Or we can leave it.
I mean, we'll probably leave it. It's rock. Can't
Alright.
be too clean, right?
Good.
I mean, isn't that true?
You got an excitable keyboard player in the band.
What did you like most about the arrangements that Jeremie had? Or any specific tracks?
Yeah, I think he has a good sense of pacing. There's a sort of a nice kind of balance between kind of the mellow introspective and then some stuff that's got a little more rock and roll to it, a little more upbeat. So I think that's nice. I guess the precision of what he does is a pleasant surprise. He really likes to get things nailed down and have them, have them real clean, real crisp and clear and articulate, and that's fun.
That's nice. I hear it's too quiet. We're supposed to be building the fullness of that.
Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that episode. Real quick, just want to give you some information. If you're looking for these albums, you can find my music on iTunes or Amazon MP3. There's other websites that are available on, but those are the most prominent. You just go into their search engines, you type in Jeremie Heston. My first name is spelled Jeremie, and my last name is spelled Heston. So type those in the search engines and the album should come up and you can download them. They're not very expensive. Also, if you haven't been able to follow every episode of the video series, both season 1 and season 2 are going to be available on YouTube. And you just simply type in Jeremie Heston, My Journey Making Music. and then of course whatever episode number you're looking for. So for example, Jeremie Heston My Journey Making Music episode 1. Type that in and you'll be able to find all of the episodes. Season 1 has 22 episodes, and season 2 I think is going to have 10 or 12 episodes. I'm not sure at this point, but I'll put a little video at the end of those episodes when I get to that. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Thank you for your support, and God bless you.